The Girl Who Sang to Shadows. Welcome to the Dark Stories Journal, where hidden truths come to light. Tonight, we tell the story of a girl in 1930s Russia who could hear voices that others could not, and the terrible price her family paid to keep her safe. The cold winds of January blew hard across the small village of Kink. The village sat between thick pine forests and the frozen Vulgar River. In a simple wooden house at the edge of town lived the Volof family. There was Mikail, who worked cutting trees and had rough hands from hard work. His wife Anna knew how to make healing drinks from forest plants. And there was their daughter, Kadia. In 1930, Russia was changing fast. The revolution was over, and Stalin was making his first big plan to change the country. The government was taking over farms and making people work together. Old ways of living were being destroyed to make room for new factories. But in the far-off village of Kink, change came slowly. The people still believed in old stories about forest spirits and house demons, though they only whispered about these things when government workers were not around. Kadia was born on the winter solstice of 1920. That night was special because the northern lights painted the sky green and purple, something very rare so far south. The old woman who helped deliver babies, Babaya, crossed herself when she first held the baby. The child had not cried when she was born. Instead, she stared at the dancing lights in the sky through the window. "This is a strange child," Babaya whispered to Anna. "Born between worlds on the longest night. Watch her very carefully." For the first few years, Kadia seemed normal. She was curious and playful and laughed easily. She had big gray eyes and hair the color of wheat in autumn. She was beautiful in a way that made people look at her, even in a village where many people were beautiful. By age 5, she could remember whole stories after hearing them just once. This made the old people in the village happy, and they would invite her to their homes for tea and stories. But as her 7th birthday came close, Mikail and Anna started to notice something wrong. While other children grew taller and lost their baby teeth and changed in normal ways, Kadia stayed exactly the same. Her face was still round like a little child's. Her baby teeth were still there. She stayed the same height. At first, they thought she was just growing slowly. Maybe she would grow all at once later to catch up with other children. By her 8th birthday, when nothing had changed, Anna took Kadia to see a doctor in the bigger town of Volgrad. It took a whole day to get there by horse and cart. "Sometimes children grow at different speeds," the doctor said after looking at the girl. "Maybe she is just small for her age. Food has been hard to get in the villages since the revolution. Give her more milk and eggs if you can find them." Mikail traded his woodworking skills for extra food to make sure Kadia had the best food possible during those hard times. Still, she stayed the same, always looking like a 7-year-old even as years passed. By 1930, when our real story begins, Kadia was 10 years old but still looked 7. The difference was getting impossible to ignore, especially in a small village where everyone knew everyone else. Children who used to play with her were now much taller. They started treating her differently. Some were curious about her, others were mean the way children can be to someone who is different. One afternoon in early February, Mikail came home from the lumber camp to find Anna sitting alone at the kitchen table. She held a cold cup of tea and stared at nothing. "Where is Kadia?" he asked, hanging his heavy coat by the door. "With Babaya," Anna said in a hollow voice. "I needed time to think." Mikail sat across from his wife and took her cold hands. "Something happened," he said. Anna nodded and finally looked at him. "I was fixing her winter dress, the blue one with flowers on it. I noticed it wasn't worn at all. Not one loose thread, no fading, no signs that she had worn it. But she has worn it every Sunday for 3 years. Children take care of their nice clothes," Mikail said, though he sounded unsure. "No, Misha. I watched her today. She cut her finger while helping me peel potatoes. A deep cut that should have bled a lot." Anna's voice became a whisper. "The cut closed right before my eyes. In minutes, there was no sign it had ever happened." Mikail frowned, the lines on his weathered face getting deeper. "You must be wrong. Maybe the cut wasn't as deep as you thought." "I know what I saw," Anna said, pulling her hands away. "And it's not the first time. Last autumn when she fell from the apple tree and scraped her knees badly. Remember how fast she healed? No scars, nothing. And have you noticed she never gets sick? Not once. Not even when half the village was sick with flu last winter. Mikail stood up quickly and walked around the small kitchen. These are good things, not bad things. Our daughter is healthy and strong. Why do you talk like these are problems? Because they are not natural. Anna hissed, then crossed herself. Forgive me, but you know it's true. Children change. They grow. They get hurt and keep the marks. Katia does not. That night, after Katia came home from Babaya's house and went to bed, Mikail crept into her room. Moonlight came through the curtains and lit up her sleeping face. She looked like an angel, peaceful, perfect, unchanged since she turned 7. He looked at her small hands folded on top of the blanket, trying to find the cut Anna had talked about. Her skin was perfect. Mikail went back to his bedroom and found Anna still awake, staring at the ceiling. We will take her to Moscow, he decided. There are better doctors there. Modern science. They will explain what is happening. The party officials barely let village people travel to the district center, let alone Moscow, Anna said. And we cannot afford such a trip. I will find a way, Mikail said. I'll talk to Comrade Leonov tomorrow. His brother works for the railway. Maybe he can help. But as February became March and winter started to end, it became clear that getting to Moscow would be almost impossible. The Soviet authorities did not trust peasants who wanted to leave their assigned areas, especially during planting season. Comrade Leonov, the local party representative, laughed at Mikhail's request. Moscow? What business does a tree cutter have in Moscow? The capital is for important party business, not for peasants with sick children. Use the district hospital like everyone else. Meanwhile, strange things kept happening around Kadia. The family cat, who used to be friendly to everyone, started to hiss and arch its back when the girl came into a room. The milk in their cellar went sour overnight after Kadia went to get some. A mirror cracked when she looked into it too long. These were small things that could be explained away one by one, but together they made everyone in the Volof house feel uneasy. By April, the village people had started to notice too. When Kadia went to school, a one-room building where children of all ages learned to read and write and Soviet ideas from a young teacher from Leningrad, the other students kept their distance. Not because they were mean, but because of instinct. Like animals sensing danger, they stayed away without knowing why. The teacher, Comrade Sirikina, came to talk to Anna one afternoon after school ended. Your daughter is very smart, she said, adjusting her wire glasses. Her essays are better than I would expect from a child her age. But I'm worried about how she gets along with others. The other children don't include her in their games. She's always been different, Anna said carefully. Quieter and more thoughtful than most children. It's more than that, Sirikina insisted. Yesterday, during our science lesson about how human bodies work, I was explaining how children grow and develop. Katia raised her hand and said very firmly that not everyone needs to grow, that some people are meant to stay the same forever. The teacher lowered her voice. When I corrected her, explaining that all living things must change and eventually die, she smiled in a way that made my blood run cold. Not everyone, she said again. That night, Anna confronted Kadia as she sat by the window, watching the stars come out in the evening sky. Your teacher talked to me today, she began, sitting beside her daughter on the wooden bench. She says you've been saying strange things in class. Kadia turned to her mother, her gray eyes reflecting the first evening star. I only told the truth. What truth, Katusha? Anna asked, using the pet name, though it had been months since she felt comfortable doing so. That I don't need to grow like the others, Kadia said matter-of-factly. I'm different. Everyone grows, my dear. It's the way of all living things. Kadia shook her head, a small smile on her lips. Not me. I decided not to. A chill ran down Anna's spine. What do you mean you decided? The night of my 7th birthday, I was looking at the stars just like now. I wished I could stay this way forever, young, perfect, loved. And something in the darkness heard me. Katya's voice became dreamy. It whispered that I could stop time for myself if I really wanted to. So I said yes. Anna tried to keep her face calm, though fear grabbed at her throat. What whispered to you, Katya? The girl shrugged. I don't know its name. It doesn't need one. It's very old, from before names existed. She turned back to the window. It visits me sometimes in my dreams. It shows me things. What kinds of things? Anna asked, her mouth dry. The past, the future, places far away. Katya's reflection in the dark glass seemed older somehow, her childish face briefly looking ancient. It shows me what people are like under their skin. Anna stood up quickly. It's time for bed. You have school tomorrow. As she tucked Kadia in, doing the familiar routine that now felt like pretending, Anna noticed a small leather bag hanging from a cord around her daughter's neck, something she had never seen before. What's this? She asked, reaching for it. Katya's hand shot up with surprising speed, grabbing Anna's wrist with unexpected strength. Don't touch it. It's mine. Anna pulled her hand back, shocked by both the grip and the fierce possessiveness in her daughter's usually calm voice. Where did you get it? It was a gift, Kadia said, her voice childlike again. For protection. From whom? My friend. Katya yawned, her eyelids getting heavy. The one who whispers. He keeps me safe. After Katya fell asleep, Anna ran to the kitchen, her hands shaking so badly she could barely light the oil lamp. Mikail found her there an hour later when he came back from his evening meeting at the village Soviet, where the men gathered to talk about lumber quotas and repeat party slogans with different levels of belief. What's wrong? He asked, alarmed by his wife's pale face. Anna told him about her conversation with Kadia, each word seeming pulled from her against her will. When she mentioned the bag, Mikhail's face darkened. I'll look at it while she sleeps, he decided. If it's something dangerous, I'll destroy it. And if it's something else? Anna asked, unable to put her fears into words. Mikail had no answer. That night, as Kadia slept deeply, Mikail crept into her room. The leather bag rested against her chest, moving up and down with her breathing. With careful fingers, he untied the cord and slipped the bag free. It was warm to the touch, warmer than body heat could explain. He went back to the kitchen where Anna waited anxiously. Together, they opened the small bag and tipped what was inside onto the table. A small object fell out, a figure carved from what looked like old, yellowed bone. It showed a child with an oversized head and long limbs, features twisted in a way that was subtly wrong, ugly without being obviously monstrous. Around the figure's neck, like the bag itself, was a tiny carved copy of a similar charm. This is not a child's toy, Mikail whispered, poking the figure with a knife tip rather than touching it directly. Where would she get such a thing? She said it was from her friend who whispers, Anna said, crossing herself. Misha, I'm afraid. It's probably something one of the village children gave her, Mikail reasoned, though his voice lacked conviction. Some old trinket found in an attic. Nothing more. Then why did she guard it so fiercely? Why keep it secret? Anna picked up the knife and pointed it at the figure. We should destroy it. Mikail nodded and took the knife from her. He pressed the blade against the figure, planning to split it in two. But as the metal touched the yellowed material, a high-pitched sound came from the carving, not loud, but cutting, like the distant scream of someone falling from a great height. Both adults jumped back. From Katya's room came a sudden thump, followed by the sound of small feet on the wooden floor. She's awake, Anna gasped, quickly scooping the figure back into its bag. But before they could hide what they had been doing, Katya appeared in the doorway. She wore her nightgown, her wheat-colored hair hanging loose around her shoulders. In the dim lamplight, her eyes looked completely black, the gray irises swallowed by huge pupils. That's mine, she said, her voice strangely flat. You had no right to take it. Katusha, Mikail began, standing up from his chair. We were worried about you. Give it back. The shout that came from the child was nothing like her normal voice. It was deeper, with layers that made the oil lamp flicker and the windows shake in their frames. Anna gasped and dropped the bag on the table. Kadia darted forward, grabbing it and clutching it to her chest. As her fingers closed around the leather, her posture changed. The rigid tension left her small body, and her eyes slowly returned to normal. "It protects me," she said, sounding like herself again. "You don't understand." "Protects you from what, Kadia?" Mikail asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "From time," she said simply. "From growing old and ugly and dying like everyone else." She looked between her parents with sudden sadness. "Like you will." Anna held back a sob. Mikail knelt in front of his daughter, forcing himself to meet her eyes directly. "Kadia, this isn't right. Whatever this thing is, whatever deal you think you've made, it can't be good. Please let us help you." For a moment, something like doubt flickered in Kadia's eyes, a glimpse of the normal child she had once been. Then her expression hardened, taking on a maturity that looked grotesque on her 7-year-old features. "You can't help me," she said. "No one can. This is what I am now." She turned and walked back to her bedroom with the measured steps of someone much older. "Don't touch my things again." After that night, a suffocating tension settled over the Volof household. Kadia continued her routine, going to school, helping with chores, acting in most ways like an ordinary child. But the moments of wrongness increased. Mikail and Anna would catch her staring at them while they slept. Objects would move between rooms with no explanation. The bag never left her neck. Most disturbing were the changes in Kadia's knowledge and abilities. She began speaking languages she had never learned, bits of German, Latin phrases, words and tongues neither parent recognized. Her school essays contained references to historical events and scientific ideas far beyond what rural Soviet schools taught. When asked how she knew these things, she would only smile and say, "My friend shows me." By May, Anna had started sleeping with a small icon of the Virgin Mary hidden under her pillow, a dangerous thing to own in the militantly atheist Soviet Union. Mikail, though he had publicly embraced communist ideas as required, began visiting the old church at the edge of the forest. It had been abandoned since the revolution but still stood. Among the dusty pews and faded paintings of saints, he would sit in silence, searching for answers in a faith he had been forced to give up. It was during one such visit that he met Father Kir, a priest who was supposed to have fled to Ukraine years ago when the Bolsheviks began executing clergymen. The elderly man came out of the shadows near the altar, his black robes dusty, his beard streaked with gray. "I wondered when one of you would come seeking help," the priest said, sitting beside Mikail on the worn wooden bench. "The village speaks of your daughter." Mikail stiffened. "What do they say? That she doesn't age, that animals fear her, that strange lights have been seen around your home at night." Father Kir's watery eyes fixed on Mikail's face. "These are not new stories, Mikail Volof. They have been told before in different times, different places." "What are you saying? That your daughter is not the first child to make a bargain with forces beyond our understanding?" The priest pulled a small leather-bound book from inside his robes. In the 17th century, a girl in a village near Arkhangelsk stopped aging at 9. In 1803, a boy in Siberia remained an infant for 60 years before vanishing during a winter storm. In 1889, twins in Poland kept the appearance of 5-year-olds well into their 20s until their parents. The priest trailed off, turning pages in his book. "Until their parents what?" Mikail demanded. Father Kir closed the book. "They did what they believed necessary to free their children's souls." The implication hung in the air between them, unspoken but unmistakable. "I would never harm my daughter," Mikail said firmly, standing up. "Whatever is happening, we will find another way." "There may not be another way," the priest replied. "What inhabits your daughter now, what she invited in, it will not leave willingly. With each passing day, less of your true child remains." "You're wrong," Mikail insisted. "Kadia is still there. I see her sometimes behind her eyes, afraid, confused." "Then that is both blessing and curse," Father Kir said, also standing. "A blessing that some spark of her true self remains to be saved. A curse because she is aware of what is happening to her." The priest pressed the small book into Mikail's hands. "Read this. It contains accounts of similar cases throughout history and the methods used to address them. Some successful, others. He crossed himself. Less so. Mikail tucked the book inside his coat. If Comrade Leonov discovers I've been speaking with a priest. I was never here, Father Kadir said with a tired smile. A ghost telling tales of other ghosts. That's all. When Mikail returned home, he found Anna sitting at the kitchen table with Babea, the old midwife who had delivered Katia 10 years earlier. Both women fell silent as he entered, exchanging glances full of unspoken meaning. "Where is Katia?" he asked immediately. "At the river with the other children," Anna replied. "Comrade Sirikina is teaching them to swim." Mikail doubted his daughter was actually participating. More likely she was sitting on the bank watching with those two knowing eyes while keeping her careful distance. "Babea and I have been talking," Anna continued, her voice measured, "about Katia." The old woman fixed Mikail with a sharp stare from beneath her heavy brows. "I should have recognized the signs when she was born," she said, her hands twisted like gnarled roots in her lap. Silent birth, eyes too aware, born when the veil between worlds was thinnest. Under normal circumstances, Mikail would have dismissed such talk as superstition, dangerous superstition in Soviet Russia, where scientific materialism was the only acceptable worldview. But normal had left their lives months ago. "What does it mean?" he asked, sinking into a chair. "She carries an old one within her," Babea stated flatly. "A spirit from the time before, when the forests were vast and humans few. They envy our warm blood, our ability to change and grow, to live fully and die completely. How could such a thing happen to a child?" Mikail demanded. "Katia was innocent." "Good. The innocent are most vulnerable," the old woman replied. "Their souls not yet fully anchored to this world. And your Katia, born between years, between seasons, between night and day, she was more vulnerable than most." A door left ajar. "And this old one," Anna interjected. "It offered her something. Eternal childhood." Babea nodded. "A common lure. Children fear growing up, taking on responsibilities, eventually facing death. The old ones know this fear and exploit it." She leaned forward, lowering her voice though no one else was present. "But the bargain is false. The child does not remain a child, not truly. The body may stay unchanged, but the mind accumulates years, decades, eventually centuries of knowledge and experience. Trapped in a child's form but ancient within. A torment of its own kind." "What can we do?" Mikail asked, thinking of the priest's book hidden in the woodshed where he had concealed it upon returning home. "There are methods," Babea said cautiously. "Rituals from the old days, before the church, before the party. But they carry great risk. Great risk for Kadia, for all involved." The old woman stood, bones creaking. "I will gather what is needed. 3 nights from now, when the moon is dark, be ready." After she had gone, Mikail told Anna about his encounter with Father Kadir. She showed no surprise at the priest's continued presence in the region. "The old ways persist," she said simply. "Church or folk magic both continue in secret. The party men may rule by day, but they don't venture into the forests at night. They don't hear what whispers between the trees." That evening, when Katia returned from the river, her clothes were perfectly dry, her hair unruffled by the wind that had blown all day. She moved through the house like a silent ghost, watching her parents with careful detachment. During dinner, she spoke little, pushing food around her plate without eating. "Aren't you hungry, Katusha?" Anna asked, forcing normality into her voice. "I don't need food anymore," Katia replied matter-of-factly. "My friend provides what I require." Mikail and Anna exchanged glances across the table. "Everyone needs food to live," Mikail said carefully. "It's how bodies work." Kadia tilted her head, studying her father with clinical interest. "Your body, perhaps. Mine is different now." She pushed her plate away. "May I be excused? I want to read before bed." After she had gone, Mikail retrieved the priest's book from its hiding place in the woodshed. He and Anna bent over it at the kitchen table, reading by lamplight, their shadows stretching enormous against the walls. The book contained accounts dating back centuries, children who stopped aging, who developed strange abilities, who became gradually alienated from humanity. The descriptions matched Katya's transformation with disturbing precision. Some cases ended with the child simply disappearing, presumably having fully transformed into whatever entity had possessed them. Others ended more tragically, with desperate families or frightened communities taking drastic action. Between these accounts were descriptions of rituals, prayers, methods of exorcism from various traditions, Christian rites alongside older pagan practices, folk remedies next to elaborate ceremonial instructions. "These can't all work," Anna whispered, tracing a finger over a particularly complex diagram. "They contradict each other." "Perhaps what matters is belief," Mikail suggested. "Faith that something will work. And if nothing does?" Anna's voice broke. Mikail had no answer. 3 nights later, as promised, Babea arrived at the Volof home after midnight. With her came 2 other village elders, Stepan Orlov, a hunter whose knowledge of the forest was unmatched, and Galina Petrova, a woman known for her ability to find lost things and lost people. "Where is the child?" Babea asked without preamble. "Sleeping," Anna replied, glancing nervously toward Katya's closed bedroom door. "Are you certain?" Galina asked. Her milky eyes had been blind since birth, but people said she could see in other ways. She turned toward the door. Mikail nodded. "I checked 10 minutes ago. She takes longer to fall asleep now, but when she does, she sleeps deeply." "Until she doesn't," Stepan muttered, removing his worn fur hat to reveal a balding head. "We should hurry." The group moved silently through the kitchen to Katya's bedroom door. Babea produced a small bottle of clear liquid from her shawl, uncorking it and sprinkling the contents on the threshold. "To keep what's inside from coming out," she explained in a whisper. Stepan placed a small bundle of dried herbs above the doorframe. "And this to keep what's outside safe." Galina said nothing, her blind eyes fixed unseeing on the wooden panels, her lips moving in silent recitation of words known only to her. Mikail eased the door open. The room beyond was dark, illuminated only by thin moonlight filtering through the curtains. Kadia lay in her small bed, chest rising and falling steadily, the leather bag visible against her nightgown. The adults entered silently, forming a loose circle around the bed. Babea nodded to Mikail, who gently placed his hands on Katya's shoulders, ready to hold her if necessary. Anna stood by with a small glass of liquid, a calming tea Babea had prepared in case they needed to keep Katya quiet. The old midwife began to speak, her voice barely above a whisper, in a language Mikail didn't recognize, older than Russian, possibly older than any tongue still spoken in the modern world. Stepan joined in, his deep bass harmonizing with her cracked soprano. Galina swayed slightly, adding her own melodic line to the strange chorus. As they chanted, Babea reached for the leather bag around Katya's neck. The moment her fingers touched the cord, the girl's eyes snapped open. They were entirely black, no white, no iris, like holes punched in reality. "I warned you," came a voice from Katya's mouth, the layered harmonic voice they had heard once before, but stronger now, more confident. "She is mine now." Mikail tightened his grip on his daughter's shoulders as she began to thrash with strength far beyond what her small frame should possess, causing the bed to creak and shudder. "Hold her," Babea commanded, abandoning her chant to grab at the bag again. Katya's back arched impossibly, her spine bending at an angle that should have broken it. A high-pitched keening came not from her mouth, which was stretched in a silent scream, but from somewhere deeper, as if the sound originated inside her chest. "The tea!" Babea shouted to Anna, who rushed forward with the glass. As she approached, an invisible force struck her, sending the glass flying against the wall where it shattered, the liquid hissing as it hit the wooden surface. "The bag!" Galina cried, her blind eyes wide with terror. "It must be removed." Stepan lunged forward, hunting knife in hand, slashing at the cord around Katya's neck. The leather parted and the bag fell onto the blanket. Instantly, Katya went rigid, then limp. The blackness receded from her eyes, revealing normal gray irises wide with confusion and fear. "Mama," she whispered, her voice her own again. "Papa, what's happening?" "It's all right, Katusha," Mikail soothed, his grip gentle but not releasing. "We're trying to help you." Babea snatched up the bag, holding it away from the bed. "Stepan, the fire." The hunter nodded, taking the bag and retreating from the room toward the kitchen stove, which had been stoked to full heat in preparation. "No!" Kadia suddenly screamed, struggling against her father's hands. "Don't! You don't understand. It will be angry." "What will be angry, child?" Galina asked, moving closer to the bed, her blind eyes somehow finding and holding Kadia's gaze. "The one who whispers. The one who keeps me safe." Tears streamed down Katya's face. "It promised I would never have to grow old, never get sick, never die. It said it would protect me forever." "And what did it ask in return?" Galina pressed. Katya's struggles subsided, her expression becoming uncertain. Just a place to stay inside me. It said we would share." "And have you been sharing truly?" Galina's voice was gentle. "Or has it been taking more and more of you, leaving less of Katya behind?" The girl's face crumpled. I don't know anymore. Sometimes I can't remember who I am. Sometimes I watch myself doing things, saying things, but it's not me deciding." From the kitchen came the sound of the stove door clanging open, followed by Stepan's voice raised in prayer or incantation, his words indistinct but the rhythm unmistakable. Kadia stiffened again, her eyes widening in terror. "No, stop him. If he destroys it." Her words cut off as her body convulsed, back arching again at that impossible angle. From her open mouth came not a scream but a plume of dark smoke, writhing like a living thing as it coalesced above the bed. The temperature in the room plummeted, frost crystallizing on the windows despite the May warmth outside. The smoke shape twisted, forming something vaguely humanoid but wrong, limbs too long, head misshapen, features suggested rather than defined. "Old one, be gone," Babea commanded, flinging a handful of some powder into the apparition. "You have no claim here." The smoke shape shuddered, emitting that same high-pitched keening they had heard before. It lunged toward Kadia, who lay limp in her father's grasp, eyes rolled back showing only whites. Galina stepped between them, arms outstretched. "By earth that bears us, by air we breathe, by water that flows in our veins, by fire that warms our hearts, you are denied this child." The smoke recoiled, then surged forward again with greater force, enveloping Galina completely. The blind woman screamed once, a sound of pure agony, before crumpling to the floor. From the kitchen came a cry of triumph from Stepan, followed by a roaring sound as something caught fire with unusual intensity. The smoke shape above the bed contorted violently, stretching toward the door as if being pulled. A soundless howl seemed to emanate from it, felt rather than heard, vibrating in the bones of everyone present. Then, with a final convulsion, it dissipated, not vanishing, but seeming to tear apart, fragments dissolving into the air like mist under strong sunlight. Silence fell, broken only by ragged breathing and the soft crackle of the fire in the kitchen. Katya lay unconscious, her face peaceful for the first time in months. Galina remained on the floor, Babea kneeling beside her, checking for signs of life. "Is it gone?" Anna asked, her voice barely audible. "For now," Babea replied without looking up. "The anchor is destroyed. Its hold is broken. But such things don't truly die. They retreat. Wait, look for new doorways." "Will it come back for Katya?" Mikail asked, still cradling his daughter's limp form. Perhaps not." The old woman sighed heavily. "These old ones are patient. They think in centuries, not moments. But they also hold grudges." Stepan returned from the kitchen, his face ashen. It fought the fire. The flames turned green, then black. The bone figure screamed, a sound no object should make. He crossed himself, a gesture forbidden by Soviet doctrine but ingrained by centuries of tradition. "It's ash now. Nothing but ash." Babea looked up from Galina's still form, her expression grave. We've paid a price tonight. Galina has crossed over. The old one took her instead of the child. Mikail and Anna bowed their heads in grief and gratitude for the sacrifice. Stepan muttered a prayer while Babea closed Galina's sightless eyes with gentle fingers. What do we do now? Anna asked, moving to sit on the bed beside her daughter, stroking the wheat-colored hair from her forehead. You leave, Babea said firmly. Tonight if possible, tomorrow at the latest. Go far from this place. Change your names. Never speak of what happened here. The authorities won't simply let us leave, Mikail protested. We need permits, papers. I have connections, Stepan said quietly. People who move between worlds, the Soviet world and the older one beneath it. For a price, they can help you disappear. We have little money, Anna began. Not that kind of price, the hunter interrupted. A promise that you will watch over your daughter, that you will teach her to recognize the signs should the old one or another like it come calling.